Thank you, Rosa. Phyllis, Frey. Welcome.
Thank you. Nice to see you all. Stephanie Austin has offered to cede her 3 minutes to me with your approval.
Okay.
Thank you. As a retired airline pilot, I have spent my life based upon facts and data, not myths, not conjecture, translated into performance. This country has offered me every opportunity, and I hope I can tell my mother I haven't squandered it. And regardless of what someone says, it is still the greatest country. I beg to differ with your misperceptions, sir. And I've lived my life on a global level, and I understand globalism, okay? And I get the big picture. And I've seen regionalism and how it ends, and it never ends well. If you want to see it, you want to see an example of what your work is going to come to, book a flight to Moscow, go over to China, check it out. It never ends well. And Mr. Dwani, am I pronouncing that right, Mr. Dwani?
Yes, you are.
I do have a few questions. I'd like to know why it is you're not telling the public the truth. In your own words, you said that we're going to be transcending the local control. That bothers me. It makes me very uncomfortable. Your words. I guess you're filming this. The people here deserve to know the truth. And you're not representing the will of the people, by the way. This is a handful, all right? Where are the 6 million people that are going to have one voice? Where are they when you're educating the public, indoctrinating the public? 750 is comprised of over 200 unelected bureaucrats, give or take a few, central planners from outside our area, unvetted by us, who under regionalism are here to re-engineer our communities into something we no longer recognize and do not want. What's your mantra? Regionalism, one neighborhood at a time. Why is it, Mr. Dwani, that you painted a lot of pretty pictures accompanied by a plethora of flowery words about utopian living? But the truth is that your sustainable community consists of clusters of low-income, high-density population, HUD, stack-and-pack high-rises with demographic quotas. Why haven't you said that wherever these sustainable communities have been implemented, such as in Poughkeepsie, New York, or Newark, or Westchester, is that crime, drugs, and prostitution have turned these communities into slums? Why don't you tell people how it really ends? It never ends well. Personally, as an American, I am offended by the fact that you and your regionalists would come here and attempt to decide how and where I live. Why don't you tell the people here today the truth? And your concept of a sustainable community is all about control. In your own words, don't include the public. Why don't you tell the people that your concept of how and where we live consists of tiny, compressed living spaces that will replace our right to own single-family homes? The shocking truth. Why don't you tell them that your vision of our future will not be decided by the public, but by your organization, 750, meaning control of 7 counties within 50 years? Why don't you tell them all of this will be done without their knowledge, without their vote, without their consent, but with their tax dollars? By the way, this is splendid. Could someone please tell me how much all of this costs? And you're all dressed very well. And where are the members of the public? You are not representing the will of the people unless you've talked to 6 million, or at least half of them plus one. Why don't you tell the folks that your central planners are promoting regional tax-based sharing, a practice through which suburban money, through extreme taxing measures, will be directly redistributed to these sustainable communities? Why don't you tell them that your vision plan will force private homeowners who will no longer be able to afford the high taxes and will have to move into your sustainable communities? And why don't you tell them, Mr. Dwani, that under the false science of environmentalism, I noticed how you tried to diminish that. That will be, but the EPA won't diminish it, because you'll be working hand in glove under new regulations by the EPA, that their private homes with their individually controlled air conditioners and wasteful irrigated lawns are no longer sustainable, and that under your plan, cars with their dirty carbon footprints are also deemed unsustainable. But that's okay. will all be living near mass transit in your sustainable community next to the rail system, and you will take care of all our needs. We can go everywhere by foot or bicycle. Again, tour to China. See how it works out. And you are a planner who knows better than we what is best for us. And why don't you tell them, Mr. Dwani, that you will not be living in the sustainable community, but your children and your grandchildren will? And why don't you tell them, Mr. Dwani, that your sustainable community does not promote jobs, it creates massive government dependency, it erodes capitalism in the community, it is not an American idea, and it is not good for America. And why don't you tell them, Mr. Dwani, that 750 bypasses Congress, contravenes our Constitution, circumvents the state level, and takes away the decision-making by our locally elected officials, in your own words? And why don't you tell these people, Ms. Dwani, that you do not care about our preferences for living, and that all you do care about is protecting your job using public funds, our tax dollars, for private use? Oh, and just one or two more questions, Ms. Dwani. By the way, I am not a Tea Party member, okay? So who is paying your salary, and how much do you earn? I hope I'm going to wait for your answers on that, since I'm footing the bill. All right, and those are my tax dollars paying your salary or yours. So I think I have the right to know how much we are paying for this, for you to tell me how and where I should live. One note in closing: America's broke. So your dreamy ideas about rail systems. There's not one rail system in America that operates at a profit. Amtrak is subsidized at a rate of 90% per dollar. And they buy a hamburger for $9 and sell it for $6. I rest my case.
Thank you.